My son took my cottage, my money, and my Thanksgiving weekend. He told me the family needed space to reconnect while I sat alone in my Toronto condo, staring at the turkey I had already bought for 12 people. What he did not know was that I had paid $40,000 for my grandson's private school tuition 3 weeks earlier. Money I could legally demand back at any moment. They called me 73 times when they found out. But that was only the beginning. Before we continue, please subscribe to Shattered Vengeance and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. I woke up on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, expecting the smell of coffee and the sound of my grandson's laughter. Instead, I found silence. The kind of silence that fills a house when everyone has already left without telling you. My name is Gerald Morrison. I am 64 years old, and I spent 37 years building bridges across Ontario. Not metaphorical bridges, real ones, the kind that hold thousands of cars every day without failing. I mention this because it explains how I think. Engineers do not guess. We calculate. We document. We build structures that can withstand pressure most people cannot imagine. That Saturday morning, I walked through my condo calling for my son Michael and his wife Lisa. They had arrived from Vancouver 2 days earlier with my 8-year-old grandson, Tyler. The plan was simple. We would spend the long weekend together, drive up to my cottage in Muskoka, and have a proper family Thanksgiving like we used to when my wife Eleanor was still alive. Eleanor passed 3 years ago, pancreatic cancer, quick and merciless. Since then, I had clung to these family gatherings, like a drowning man clings to driftwood. Michael knew this. Everyone knew this. The note was on the kitchen counter, written in Lisa's careful handwriting. Gerald, we decided to go to the cottage without you. The family needs some quiet time together, just the 3 of us. We will be back Monday evening. Do not worry about the food. We took everything. Also, Tyler says thank you for the school money. That was very generous. Love, Michael and Lisa. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words felt less real and more devastating. They had taken my cottage, my food, my Thanksgiving, my grandson, whose education I had just funded with $40,000 of my retirement savings. And they had done it while I slept, leaving nothing but a note that thanked me for my generosity in the same breath that it dismissed my presence. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. Michael's number went straight to voicemail. Lisa's phone rang once before disconnecting. I tried 6 more times. Nothing. I sat down heavily in my leather armchair, the one Eleanor had picked out 20 years ago because she said it looked like something a respected engineer should own. The Thanksgiving decorations I had put up the night before now looked like props in a cruel joke. Orange leaves on the mantel, a ceramic turkey centerpiece, a banner that said grateful in gold letters. Grateful. The word felt like an insult. I had given Michael everything. When he graduated from university with a business degree and no job prospects, I had supported him for 2 years while he found himself in Europe. When he met Lisa and decided to move to Vancouver, I had paid for the moving costs. When Tyler was born, I had flown out every 3 months, staying in hotels because Lisa said my presence in their small apartment was overwhelming. 3 weeks ago, Michael had called with panic in his voice. Tyler had been accepted into Street, Andrews Academy, one of the best private schools in Vancouver. The tuition was $40,000 per year, and they could not afford the first payment. Dad, this is Tyler's future, Michael had said. If he goes to public school, he will fall behind. Lisa is already stressed about it. You know how much education meant to Mom. Would she want her grandson to miss this opportunity? He knew exactly what buttons to push. Eleanor had been a teacher for 30 years. Education was sacred to her. So I had transferred $40,000 to Michael's account the next day, structured as a formal loan with repayment terms we both signed. My lawyer, Patricia Chen, had insisted on proper documentation. Smart business practice, she had said. Even with family, especially with family. Now I understood why she had emphasized that. I walked to my office, a room filled with blueprints, engineering awards, and photographs of bridges I had helped design. The filing cabinet in the corner held 30 years of meticulous records. Every contract, every receipt, every loan document. I pulled out the folder labeled Michael, financial support. The numbers were sobering. University tuition over 4 years, $85,000. Down payment assistance for their Vancouver condo, $120,000, structured as a low-interest loan. Wedding expenses, $42,000. Monthly support during Michael's unemployment, $18,000 total. Emergency medical costs, when Lisa had her appendix removed and their insurance was complicated, $12,000. Tyler's school tuition, $40,000. $317,000. Over a decade of careful generosity, documented in neat folders with receipts and signed agreements. And they had left me alone on Thanksgiving weekend after taking my cottage key from the hook by the door. My phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Sandra. "Happy Thanksgiving, Gerald. Hope you're having a wonderful time with your family." I stared at the message until the screen went dark. They thought I was just a convenient source of funding, a retired engineer with no wife, no social life, and deep pockets. Someone who would quietly accept their abandonment and continue writing checks out of guilt and loneliness. They were wrong. I dialed Patricia Chen's number. She answered on the third ring, her voice carrying the relaxed tone of someone enjoying a holiday weekend. "Gerald, happy Thanksgiving. What can I do for you?" "Patricia, I need legal advice. Today, if possible." Her pause told me she had noticed the tension in my voice. "Gerald, what is wrong? You sound different." "My family left for my cottage without me this morning. They took my food, my car, my grandson, and left a note thanking me for being generous. I want to know my legal options regarding the money I have loaned them over the years." The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. "They abandoned you on Thanksgiving? Are you serious?" "Completely serious. They took my money and left me behind. Now I want to know what I can legally get back." Patricia's voice shifted into professional mode. "The condo down payment loan we structured is ironclad. Demand loan, 60-day notice, as specified in the agreement. The school tuition was also documented as a loan, callable with 30 days notice. But Gerald, are you sure you want to go down this road? Maybe you should wait until they return and have a conversation first." "They made their decision, Patricia. Now I am making mine." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began composing an email to my accountant, David Wright. He had handled my taxes for 15 years and knew my financial situation better than anyone. The cottage. They had taken the cottage. That property had been in my family for 40 years. My father had bought it when I was in my 20s, and Eleanor and I had spent every summer there raising Michael. The dock where he learned to swim, the fireplace where we roasted marshmallows, the bedroom where Eleanor and I had whispered about our dreams for the future. After Eleanor died, the cottage became my sanctuary, the only place where her memory felt close enough to touch. And Michael had taken his wife and son there without me, deliberately, calculatedly. I pulled up the cottage's property records on my computer. The deed was in my name alone. Eleanor had transferred her share to me 5 years before she passed, for estate planning purposes. Michael had no legal claim to the property whatsoever, but he had a key. I had given it to him years ago, trusting that family shared things freely, trusting that my son would never abuse that trust. I called the cottage's landline. It rang 8 times before Lisa answered, her voice artificially cheerful. "Morrison Cottage," Lisa speaking. "Lisa, it is Gerald." The cheerfulness vanished immediately. "Oh, Gerald. Hi. We were just about to call you." "Were you? Before or after you finished eating my Thanksgiving turkey?" "Gerald, please do not be dramatic. We just needed some family time. Michael has been so stressed with work, and Tyler needs attention from both his parents without any distractions." Distractions. The word landed like a slap. I am a distraction now? That is not what I meant. I just meant that sometimes 3 generations under one roof can be intense. "We thought you might appreciate having your condo to yourself for a few days." "You thought I would appreciate being abandoned on Thanksgiving weekend after I paid $40,000 for your son's education 3 weeks ago?" Lisa's tone hardened. "Gerald, we are very grateful for the school money, but gratitude does not mean we have to spend every holiday catering to your need for family togetherness. Sometimes people need space." Space you could have requested instead of stealing my cottage and leaving a note. We did not steal anything. Michael has a key. We just borrowed the cottage for a few days. You are overreacting. I opened my filing cabinet and pulled out the loan documents. Lisa, put Michael on the phone. He is busy with Tyler right now. Then he can be busy while listening to this. The $40,000 I transferred last month for Tyler's school was structured as a formal loan. You both signed the promissory note. It is callable with 30 days written notice. Do you understand what that means? The silence on the other end was exactly what I had expected. Lisa's expertise was in yoga instruction and wellness coaching, not contract law. You cannot be serious, Gerald. It was a gift. You were helping your grandson. The documentation says otherwise. Michael signed a promissory note. You witnessed it. The loan is callable at my discretion. Michael's voice suddenly joined the call. Dad, what is this about? Lisa is crying. Good. She should have thought about consequences before coordinating to abandon me on a holiday. Dad, we did not abandon you. We just needed some space. You are always so intense about family gatherings, always expecting gratitude, always bringing up how much you have done for us. It is exhausting. Something cold settled in my chest. Exhausting. Giving you $300,000 over 10 years is exhausting for you? That is not what I meant. I just meant that sometimes being around you feels like we are constantly being reminded that we owe you something. You do owe me something. Legally. $120,000 for your condo down payment, plus interest. $40,000 for Tyler's school. Both documented, both signed, both callable. The phone went silent except for the sound of heavy breathing. Dad. Michael's voice cracked with panic. You cannot do this. We will lose everything. Then you should have thought about that before deciding my presence was unwanted. I hung up and immediately called Patricia Chen back. Patricia, I want to proceed with everything. Prepare the collection notices for both loans, the condo down payment and the school tuition. I want them served as soon as legally possible. Gerald, it is Thanksgiving weekend. They made it clear that family holidays do not matter to them. Why should I treat their financial obligations any differently? I spent the rest of Saturday documenting everything, every text message, every email, every financial transaction. My engineering brain found comfort in the systematic organization of evidence. That evening, I received the first voicemail from Michael. Dad, please. Lisa is devastated. Tyler does not understand why everyone is upset. Can we please talk about this like adults when we get back? We made a mistake, okay? We should have discussed the cottage trip with you first, but this is not worth destroying our family over. I saved the message without responding. The second voicemail came from Lisa. Gerald, I know we hurt your feelings, and I am truly sorry about that, but threatening our financial stability is not the answer. Tyler needs his school. We need our home. Please, let us work this out together. The third voicemail came from a number I did not recognize. It turned out to be my brother Donald, who lived in Calgary. Gerald, I just got a strange call from Michael. He says you have gone nuclear over some kind of cottage misunderstanding. Look, I know you have been lonely since Eleanor passed, but threatening your own grandchild's education seems extreme. Call me. The character assassination had begun. I poured myself a glass of scotch and sat in the darkness of my condo, watching the city lights twinkle outside my window. They were already reframing the narrative. I was the lonely, unreasonable old man, overreacting to a simple miscommunication. They were the innocent victims trying to manage a difficult family member. What they did not know was that I had seen this pattern before. In my 40 years of engineering, I had worked with contractors who smiled while they stole, business partners who shook hands while planning betrayals. I had learned to recognize the difference between genuine remorse and strategic manipulation. Their apologies were too coordinated, too focused on outcomes rather than accountability. They were not sorry for what they did. They were sorry it had consequences. Sunday morning brought a surprise visitor. My doorman called up to announce that a woman named Margaret Morrison was in the lobby, asking to see me. Margaret was Michael's mother-in-law, Lisa's mother, a retired real estate agent from Victoria who had always been perfectly pleasant at family gatherings but whom I had never had a private conversation with. I had her sent up, curious about what angle she was playing. Gerald. She swept into my condo with the professional warmth of someone who had sold houses for 30 years. We need to talk. Margaret, please sit down. Can I offer you tea? This is not a social visit. She remained standing, her posture rigid. I just flew in from Victoria because my daughter called me in tears last night. She says you are threatening to destroy their lives over a misunderstanding. Did she tell you what the misunderstanding was? She said you were upset about a cottage trip and some loan paperwork. I walked to my filing cabinet and pulled out the folder I had prepared. Did she mention that they planned this trip without telling me? That they left on Thanksgiving weekend while I slept, leaving only a note? That they took my car, my food, and my family cottage without asking? Margaret's composure flickered for the first time. Well, Michael did say you can be possessive about family gatherings. Possessive. I opened the folder to show her the loan documents. I have given Michael over $300,000 in financial support over the past decade. All documented. All legal. The condo down payment and school tuition are structured as formal loans with repayment terms. Those were gifts, Gerald. Family helps family. Family also includes the people giving the help. Family does not abandon each other on holidays after taking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Margaret's eyes narrowed. So, this is about money. You want to control them with your wealth. This is about consequences. They made a choice to exclude me. I am making a choice to stop funding people who treat me like an inconvenient ATM. You are being petty. I am being practical. Something your daughter and son-in-law should have considered before they decided my presence was not worth including. Margaret left 20 minutes later, her professional composure fully restored, but her arguments unsuccessful. I had dealt with too many difficult negotiations to be swayed by emotional appeals or accusations of pettiness. That afternoon, I did something I had been putting off for 3 years. I went to visit Eleanor's grave. The cemetery was quiet on the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. Most families were gathered around tables, not headstones. I stood before Eleanor's marker, reading the inscription we had chosen together when she was diagnosed. Eleanor Morrison, beloved wife, mother, teacher. She built minds the way others build monuments. I told her everything, the cottage, the note, the phone calls, the legal notices I was preparing. I told her about feeling like a stranger in my own family, about watching our son become someone who calculated my worth in dollars rather than love. The wind picked up, rustling the autumn leaves around me. I chose to interpret it as Eleanor's response. She had always been fiercer than me. If someone had tried to manipulate her this way, she would have responded with devastating clarity. Eleanor did not tolerate disrespect, not from students, not from colleagues, not from family. By the time I returned to my condo, I had made my decision. The legal documents would go out Tuesday morning. The loans would be called. The consequences would unfold according to contract terms, not emotional pleading. Monday evening, they returned. I watched through my window as Michael's rental car pulled into the visitor parking spot. They moved slowly, reluctantly, like prisoners returning to face a judge. Lisa carried Tyler, who was half asleep against her shoulder. Michael walked behind them, his shoulders slumped with the weight of someone who finally understood the gravity of his situation. I buzzed them up without greeting. Michael entered first, his face a mixture of shame and defensive anger that I recognized from his teenage years. Behind him, Lisa clutched Tyler, who was now awake and confused by the tension. "Dad." Michael's voice was hoarse. "We need to talk." "Yes, we do." I remained standing. "Tyler, your grandmother's puzzle collection is in the spare bedroom. Why do you not go work on one while the adults have a conversation?" Tyler looked between his parents and me, sensing the storm but not understanding it. Lisa nodded reluctantly, and Tyler shuffled off, glancing back over his shoulder. When the bedroom door closed, I faced them. "Sit down." They settled onto my sofa like children awaiting punishment. The power dynamic had shifted entirely since Thursday. I have spent the past 4 days reviewing our financial relationship. I spoke slowly, deliberately, the way I used to address junior engineers who had made costly mistakes. In the past 10 years, I have provided over $300,000 in documented support. This includes loans that you both signed promissory notes for. Dad, those were not real loans, Michael interjected. They were family arrangements. You were helping us. I was helping you. I have the documentation to prove it. The question is whether you have the integrity to honor the agreements you signed. Lisa started crying. Gerald, please, we made a mistake. We should have talked to you about the cottage trip instead of just going. I understand that now. But destroying our finances will not undo the hurt. You are right. Nothing will undo the hurt. But actions have consequences. You chose to exclude me while depending on my generosity. That choice has a price. Michael leaned forward, his voice dropping to something harder. This is exactly what we were talking about, Dad. This is why we needed space. Everything with you comes with strings attached. Every gift, every favor, everything is about control. Control? I felt my own anger rising but kept it contained. I gave you independence. I funded your education, your home, your son's future. I asked for nothing except basic family inclusion, and you decided that was too much to tolerate. We were not excluding you. We just wanted one weekend without feeling like we owed you something. You do owe me something. Legally. The contracts specify the amounts. So that is it? Michael stood up, his fist clenching. You are going to destroy our lives because we took a cottage trip without your permission? I am going to treat you exactly as you treated me, like someone whose feelings and needs do not matter. The room fell silent except for the sound of Lisa's quiet sobbing. What do you want, Gerald? Lisa finally asked. What will make this stop? I looked at both of them, searching for any sign of genuine remorse beneath the strategic desperation. I want the truth. I want you to tell me exactly what you were thinking when you planned this. Not the sanitized version. The real reasons. Michael and Lisa exchanged glances. Something passed between them, some shared memory or agreement. Fine. Michael sat back down, exhaling heavily. Lisa's mother has been telling her for years that you are too involved in our lives, that you use money to control us. After Tyler was accepted to street, Andrews and you paid the tuition. Margaret said we were becoming permanently dependent on you. She suggested we start setting boundaries. Boundaries like abandoning me on Thanksgiving? She said if we did not start asserting our independence, we would be beholden to you forever. That Tyler would grow up thinking money and control were the same thing. So this was Margaret's idea? Lisa nodded, her tears slowing. Mom thought if we showed you that we could make family decisions without consulting you, you would start to see us as adults, not as dependents. The revelation clicked into place. Margaret's visit had not been damage control. It had been reconnaissance. She was checking how firm my resolve was, probably planning their next strategic move. Your mother, I said to Lisa, encouraged you to exclude me from a family gathering 3 weeks after I paid $40,000 for your son's education. Lisa winced. When you put it that way, it sounds calculating. It was calculating. That is exactly what it was. Michael rubbed his face with his hands. Dad, I am sorry. I really am. We did not think it through. We did not realize how much it would hurt you to wake up alone on Thanksgiving weekend. Did Margaret also tell you to coordinate your stories when calling relatives, to paint me as an unstable old man overreacting to a misunderstanding? The guilty looks confirmed it. She said we needed to control the narrative, Lisa admitted. She said you might try to turn the family against us. So you preemptively tried to turn them against me. They had no answer for that. Here is what is going to happen. I pulled out the file Patricia had prepared. The loan notices will be filed tomorrow. You will have 60 days to pay back the condo down payment loan and 30 days for the school tuition. Dad, we cannot pay that back. We do not have that kind of money. Then you should not have signed loan agreements you could not honor. You know, we thought those were formalities. We never expected you to actually enforce them. I leaned forward, meeting Michael's eyes. That is precisely the problem. You thought my generosity had no limits. You thought I would keep giving no matter how poorly you treated me. You thought wrong. Lisa's voice turned desperate. What about Tyler? He loves his school. He has friends there. You cannot take that away from him because you are angry at us. Tyler's education is your responsibility. I provided assistance that you chose to squander through your behavior. The consequences are yours to manage." They left an hour later, defeated and terrified. As I watched their rental car disappear down the street, I felt no satisfaction, only the grim clarity of someone who had finally stopped subsidizing their own betrayal. The following weeks unfolded with mechanical precision. Patricia filed the loan demands on Tuesday morning. The legal language was clinical and unyielding. Michael and Lisa had 60 days to repay $120,000 plus accumulated interest, and 30 days to repay the school tuition. Their response came in stages. First, panic, then negotiation attempts, then desperate pleas from relatives I barely spoke to. My brother Donald called me a cold-hearted bastard. Eleanor's sister Margaret said I was dishonoring my wife's memory. A cousin in Halifax sent a 3-page letter about the importance of forgiveness. Each message was carefully documented and filed. If they wanted to wage a reputation war, I would have evidence of their coordination. What I had not expected was the call from Tyler's school. "Mr. Morrison, this is Principal Davidson from St. Andrews Academy. I am calling about Tyler's tuition status." I sat up straighter in my chair. "Yes? We received notice that the tuition payment has been flagged for potential recall. The payment came from your account directly, and our finance office is asking for clarification. The tuition was paid through a loan agreement with my son. That loan is currently being called." "I see." There was a pause. "Mr. Morrison, I want you to know that Tyler is an exceptional student. He has adjusted remarkably well to our school. His teachers speak very highly of him." "I am glad to hear that." "I also want you to know that St. Andrews has a significant financial aid program. If Tyler's family situation changes, we would work with them to ensure he can continue his education." I thanked Principal Davidson and hung up. The call had not changed my legal position, but it had reminded me that Tyler was an innocent party in this conflict. He had not chosen to exclude me. He had not written the note. He had not coordinated the betrayal. That evening, I did something I had not done in months. I called my friend Arthur, a retired judge who lived in North York. We had known each other since our children were in elementary school together, and he had remained a steady presence through Eleanor's illness and passing. "Gerald." Arthur's voice carried the measured calm of a man who had spent 40 years weighing difficult decisions. "I heard through the grapevine that you are having some family difficulties." "That is an understatement." "Tell me what happened." I explained everything: the cottage, the note, the loan recalls, the coordinated reputation campaign. Arthur listened without interruption, occasionally making small sounds of acknowledgement. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Gerald, from a legal standpoint, you are entirely within your rights. The loan documents are enforceable. Their behavior was egregious. But I have seen many family disputes escalate beyond the point of repair. Sometimes winning is not the same as being right. They abandoned me on Thanksgiving, Arthur, after everything I have done for them. I know, and that was wrong, but Tyler is 8 years old. He had no part in his parents' decisions. Is punishing his parents worth damaging your relationship with him?" The question hung in the air between us. "I am not punishing anyone. I am collecting legitimate debts. You and I both know those debts were never meant to be called in under normal circumstances. You structured them that way for estate planning, not for enforcement. Normal circumstances ended when they chose to exclude me while taking my money." Arthur sighed. "I am not telling you what to do, Gerald. You are old enough and smart enough to make your own decisions. But I am asking you to consider what Eleanor would have wanted. Eleanor would have wanted a family that valued her husband. Yes, and she would have wanted her grandson to have a relationship with his grandfather." I ended the call feeling more conflicted than before. Arthur was right that Tyler was innocent, but Michael and Lisa had made their choices knowing Tyler would be affected. The responsibility for consequences belonged to them, not to me. 2 weeks before Christmas, Michael called with a proposal. "Dad, I have been doing a lot of thinking." He sounded different, more subdued. "You were right about everything. We treated you like an ATM, and we did not appreciate everything you did for us." "This is not about appreciation, Michael." I know. He took a deep breath. "I talked to Lisa and her mother. Margaret admitted that she had been pushing us to create distance from you. She said she was trying to protect Lisa from becoming dependent, but she went too far. Did Margaret also admit to coordinating the reputation campaign? Yes. She orchestrated the calls to Uncle Donald and Aunt Margaret. She thought if enough family members pressured you, you would back down. And now? Now we understand that was wrong. All of it. The cottage trip, the note, the phone calls, everything. I waited for the negotiation to begin. With Michael, there was always a negotiation. Dad, I have a proposal. What if we restructure the loans with an independent financial advisor? Someone who can create a realistic repayment plan that does not require us to sell our home or pull Tyler out of school. We would pay back every cent, just on terms we can actually meet. The proposal was more reasonable than I had expected. And what about our relationship going forward? Michael's voice cracked slightly. I want Tyler to know his grandfather. I want him to have memories of the cottage, of family dinners, of all the things I took for granted growing up. I was so focused on independence that I forgot what I was being independent from. A father who loved us, who gave us everything. You should have thought of that before you left me alone on Thanksgiving. I know, and I will never stop regretting it. But I am asking for a chance to make it right. Not because of the money, because I miss my dad. The words landed somewhere deep in my chest, in the place that had been frozen since I read that note on the kitchen counter. Send me a formal proposal through Patricia. I will consider it. Dad, thank you. Do not thank me yet. I will read the proposal. That is all I am promising. The proposal arrived 3 days later. Michael and Lisa offered to repay the loans over 15 years at reasonable interest, with accelerated payments if their financial situation improved. They also offered to cover the cost of a family counseling program to rebuild trust. Patricia reviewed it and pronounced it legally sound. David confirmed the financial terms were reasonable. Arthur said it showed genuine effort at reconciliation. I spent a week thinking about it. On Christmas Eve, I made my decision. I called Michael. I have reviewed your proposal. I accept the repayment terms with one modification. What modification? The school tuition loan is forgiven. It was always meant for Tyler's benefit, and he should not suffer for his parents' mistakes. The silence on the other end was long enough that I wondered if Michael was still there. Finally, his voice came through, thick with emotion. Dad, thank you. I do not know what to say. Say you understand that this is not about money. It never was about money. I understand. I really do. Good. Now, there is one more thing. Anything. I want you and Lisa and Tyler here for Christmas dinner tomorrow. No excuses, no last-minute changes. If you are going to be part of this family, then be part of this family. We will be there, I promise. They arrived at noon on Christmas Day. Tyler burst through the door first, running to hug me with the unself-conscious joy of a child who does not understand adult conflicts. Grandpa, Merry Christmas. Mom said you have a puzzle we can work on together. I knelt down to meet his eyes, feeling something shift in my chest. I do, Tyler, and I have missed you very much. Michael and Lisa hung back, uncertain of their welcome. I looked at them standing in my doorway, seeing not the calculating adults who had abandoned me, but the flawed human beings who had made terrible choices and were trying to make amends. Come in. I stepped aside. Dinner will be ready in 2 hours. The afternoon was not perfect. There were awkward silences and careful conversations. Lisa apologized 3 more times. Michael kept touching my shoulder as if to confirm I was real. But Tyler's laughter filled the spaces between our discomfort, and somewhere in the middle of dinner, I realized I was enjoying myself. We did not discuss the loans. We did not discuss the cottage incident. We talked about Tyler's school, about Michael's work, about my plans to volunteer at the local engineering museum. Normal family conversation. After dinner, while Lisa helped Tyler with his new Lego set, Michael joined me on the balcony. The Toronto skyline sparkled with Christmas lights, and our breath made small clouds in the cold air. Dad, I need to tell you something. I waited. When we left for the cottage without you, I told myself it was about boundaries and independence. But the truth is, I was ashamed. Ashamed of what? Of how much I had taken from you over the years. Every time you helped us, I felt smaller. Like I was not living up to what you and Mom expected. Margaret's advice gave me permission to feel angry instead of grateful. and anger felt better than shame. I considered his words carefully. Michael, I never wanted you to feel ashamed. I helped because I could, and because I love you. I know that now. But when you are always the one receiving, it is hard to feel like an equal, hard to feel like an adult. So you try to take control in the worst possible way. Yes, and I am sorry. We stood in silence, watching the lights of the city below. Michael, I am not a perfect father. I know I can be overbearing. I know I sometimes confused financial support with emotional connection. But I never wanted to control you. I just wanted to be included. I know, Dad. I know. We returned inside as Lisa called us for dessert. Tyler insisted I sit next to him, chattering about his school friends and his teachers and the science fair project he was planning. As I watched my family gathered around my table, eating pie and laughing at Tyler's jokes, I thought about Eleanor. She would have handled this differently. More warmth, less legal documentation. But she would have approved of the outcome. Family is not about blood or obligation. It is about showing up. It is about choosing connection over convenience. It is about forgiving not because the hurt disappears, but because holding on to it hurts more. In the months that followed, things improved slowly. Michael and Lisa made their first loan payment on time. We established monthly video calls and quarterly visits. I flew to Vancouver for Tyler's birthday and his spring concert. They came to Toronto for Easter. Margaret apologized formally in a letter that Patricia said showed signs of legal review. I accepted the apology without warmth. Some relationships are not worth rebuilding. Last month, I took Tyler to the cottage for the first time since the incident. Just the two of us. We fished off the dock, roasted marshmallows by the fireplace, and worked on a 1,000-piece puzzle of the CN Tower. On the second evening, Tyler looked up from the puzzle with serious eyes. Grandpa, Mom, and Dad said they did something that hurt your feelings last year. They said that is why you were sad for a while. I considered how to explain betrayal and reconciliation to an 8-year-old. Yes, Tyler. Sometimes adults make choices that hurt other people, even people they love. But what matters is what we do after the hurt. Your parents apologized and worked hard to make things better. That is what family does. Tyler nodded thoughtfully. Like when I broke Jake's toy and then saved my allowance to buy him a new one? Exactly like that. He returned to the puzzle, satisfied with the explanation. I watched him work, this small person who carried the best parts of Eleanor's determination and Michael's curiosity, and I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope, not naive hope that everything would be perfect, but realistic hope that broken things could be repaired, that relationships worth saving could be saved, that the rest of my years could be filled with family dinners and cottage weekends and puzzle nights with my grandson. I am 64 years old. My wife is gone, and my relationship with my son will never be what it was before the note on the counter. But I am not alone. I have a family that finally understands the difference between obligation and love. I have a grandson who thinks I am the best puzzle partner in the world. And I have learned something valuable about the difference between revenge and justice. Revenge is about making others suffer. Justice is about establishing boundaries. I did not destroy my family. I established the boundaries necessary for a real relationship to exist. If you are watching this, and you have been betrayed by people who should have loved you better, know this. You deserve to be treated with dignity. You deserve to have your generosity appreciated. And you have every right to stop funding relationships that take without giving. But also know that forgiveness, when earned, is not weakness. It is the bridge that allows broken families to find their way back to each other. I built bridges for 37 years. Some carried cars. Some carried trains. The most important one carried my family home. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments below. To hear the next story, click the video on the left.